The story begins with Kotaro, who despite being the breathing example of loneliness, somehow lucks his way into a promise of marriage with a Tengu girl named Hime when he was just a kid. Now years later, after the death of his parents, Kotaro leads a boring life as a system engineer who lives in his grandparents' old house in the mountains, which he used to call his home as a kid. One day, Kotaro is sitting at his laptop to finish some work, and after doing so, he picks up a book named The World of Folklore and decides to give it a read. But before he can get much reading done, he hears his phone ringing and goes to check it out. He looks here and there for his phone and instead finds an expired sweet bean paste. Being broke, Kotaro tears it up and starts munching on it since he forgot to eat his breakfast. Moving to another room, he spots his cell phone buzzing on the floor. Kotaro then picks up the unexpected call from his friend, who asks how his move went. Our protagonist replies that the shifting went smoothly and tells him to spill his reason for calling him out of nowhere. His friend Satoshi asks him to tag along for a hike to Mount Takao. Even though he's exhausted and annoyed, our boy still agrees and makes his way to the entrance to meet up. Once there, Satoshi hands him a ticket and also introduces his fiancée, Marisa. Kotaro comments that it would have been better to stay out of their way since he'd just be a third wheel, but Satoshi messes with him, questioning if he's really fine letting rookies like them wander off and get lost, trapping him in an annoying cutscene he can't skip. Our protagonist argues that it would be pretty hard for anyone with 2 brain cells to get lost on the first track using the cable car, but his friend insists that something bad might happen, forcing our guy to tag along. As they start their hike, it quickly becomes obvious that Kotaro is acting more like a tour guide than a companion. He tells the couple that the trail isn't just paved, but also lined with shops and bathrooms. Pointing out spots like the Monkey Park and the Good Luck Octopus, they realize that the place feels more like a sightseeing trail than a real hiking spot. When Kotaro glances back, he notices the couple is too busy taking selfies to even listen to him. Before he can say anything, they suddenly gaslight him for leaving them behind and question if he even knows the place that well. Staying calm, Kotaro clarifies that he doesn't know everything, but it's normal for locals to visit the mountain multiple times during school trips. Hearing this, Marisa tilts her head and asks why he doesn't seem excited about returning. At first, Kotaro dismisses the idea, saying that's not the case, but after a brief pause, he admits that he doesn't have many good memories of the place. Suddenly, a gust of wind blows toward them, and Kotaro's friend asks if he is alright. Completely spaced out, Kotaro blurts out that this is the place where he was apparently kidnapped by a Tengu. Satoshi and Marisa get confused and ask if he got lost or something, at which Kotaro explains with a calm expression that this is what his relatives told him since he does not remember much about the incident. Yet, there is a strange feeling that keeps telling him not to come here. Kotaro takes a seat at a nearby table, sipping his water as he contemplates how strange it is to forget something like getting lost in elementary school. The thought sticks with him, making him question if his memories have been altered in some way. As he twists open the bottle cap, a faint sense of familiarity washes over him. He recalls the fear of being alone back then, crying in distress. But before the memory fully resurfaces, he deliberately shuts it down, deciding it's probably not something he wants to relive. A sudden movement catches his eye and stirs a hazy memory of holding someone's hand. Lost in thought, Kotaro's grip slackens, and the bottle slips from his hand, spilling water across the ground. They move along the path, passing statues of Tengu, one of which bears a beak instead of a nose. Passing through the trees, Kotaro admires the autumn leaves, remembering someone once telling him how beautiful they were. He cannot recall exactly who, but he is certain that he met someone important here. All of a sudden, Kotaro catches a glimpse of someone standing by the trees and instinctively runs toward them. He pushes through the bushes, realizing there's something familiar about this off-course path. The deeper he ventures, the more the place seems like somewhere he had been with someone before. As he moves further, his foot gets caught in a bush, and the next thing he sees is a giant fox staring intently at him. Just behind the fox, his eyes meet a Tengu girl wearing a mask, who tells him to leave, muttering something that he won't get a third chance. Completely shaken, our guy yeets himself out of there and meets up with his friend, who asks him about what happened. Kotaro brushes it off as nothing, but his mind keeps circling back to the Tengu girl. With a faint sense of familiarity lingering, he wonders if he has seen her somewhere before. That night, after dinner, Kotaro heads back to the area near the Yakuun temple, now buried in pitch-black darkness. The sheer depth of the night catches him off guard, but instead of turning back, he grabs his torch and pushes forward to the spot where he last saw the Tengu. With every step, an unsettling certainty tightens around him, a feeling that something crucial is missing from his memory, linked to someone he has to find. The thought loops in his head, weighing him down, until his foot suddenly slips. The ground beneath him vanishes, and as he tumbles into nothingness, Kotaro can only think that it's about time his pathetic life came to an end. Faint childhood memories flicker in his mind, showing a little Kotaro bawling like a baby under the watch of a big fox. Through the haze, a Tengu lady emerges, reaching out with a gentle hand and telling him to stop crying with her soft voice. A gentle touch of her healing magic eases Kotaro's pain, leaving him feeling much better before she calmly says she'll fetch some medicine for him. Suddenly, Kotaro's eyes pop open, and he sees the same lady standing in front of him, asking if he's alright. Seeing him in one piece, she breathes a sigh of relief and checks if he hit his head. Recognizing her, Kotaro asks if she was the one who saved him when he was a kid. He adds that during his school trip, when he got lost, he fell on top of a giant dog, referring to the fox. Without thinking, he grabs her hand and asks if she remembers all that. The Tengu girl, whose name is Hime, blushes and says she could never forget, and then looks at Kotaro and asks if he remembers the promise he made to her. Kotaro feels confused and questions her about the promise, insisting he has no memory of making one. Hime falls silent for a moment and angrily inquires why he came back if he doesn't remember, especially after ignoring her warning about the third time. As Kotaro asks her for an explanation, Hime elaborates that the rules of her village clearly state that if two people meet under the sacred tree 3 times, they are bound to get married. Without warning, Hime throws herself at him and hugs him tightly, leaving the lucky dog stunned as he finds himself engaged to her all of a sudden, as if he accidentally downloaded the marriage DLC. The scene shifts to the whole village going wild celebrating Hime's marriage, getting totally out of control with booze and even trying to get our boy wasted. The men hype him up, claiming a tall Sigma like him is bound to produce a baby boy. Meanwhile, Kotaro drifts through his foggy memories of falling off a cliff when Hime suddenly storms in, all flustered, demanding to know who started the party without even asking her. But it's obvious she's way more bothered by the lovey-dovey banner with their names plastered on it. A Tengu shows up asking her to cover her face with the mask since Kotaro is an outsider, but Hime tells him to shove off since it makes her look like a Karen. She keeps scolding them for just flipping her birthday banner over instead of making a new one and tells everyone it's time to wrap things up. While the whole crowd completely ignores our protagonist like he's background noise, and Hime reminds them that he still doesn't remember her, so they can't just get married out of nowhere. When someone casually mentions how hyped she was for his arrival, her face turns bright red, leaving Kotaro at a total loss for words. The guys keep bombarding him with questions about where he's from and how much cash he's stacking, completely brushing off Hime. But the second they ask about his family, she goes dead silent. After a brief pause, our forever alone protagonist proudly states that he works as an engineer and, so far, has 0 love interests and 0 plans to get married anytime soon. The whole room stares at him like he just said the dumbest thing ever, but Kotaro stands his ground and politely refuses to go through with the arranged marriage, even if it means breaking their rules. While he offers to apologize, Kotaro is cut off by the chief, Hime's grandmother, who says that Hime must start pumping out babies as soon as possible. Before the old lady can drop divine punishment on him, Hime steps in and tells Granny to chill until he at least gets his lost memories back. Looking a little down, Hime says she knows the rules and takes our hero outside for some fresh air. On their way out, Kotaro asks what rules have everyone so worked up, but Hime suddenly gets serious and tells him to leave the village. She even offers to fly him home since everyone's gonna be too hungover to care till morning. Kotaro is caught off guard by how fast she's trying to get rid of him, especially after how eager she seemed to marry him. A sad smile crosses her face as she realizes he's completely forgotten the treasured memories they shared. Turning away with a smug look, she teases that he used to be all over her as a kid, which Kotaro actually remembers, giving her a small spark of hope. Hime tells Kotaro that just like him, she's got a family that means a lot to her, so she has to meet their expectations of giving them an heir. She apologizes for dragging him into it. Kotaro is left speechless as flashes of his dead relatives flood his mind. But before he can say how lonely he is, Hime cuts him off by asking if he's got all his stuff. Checking his pockets, Kotaro realizes he's lost his compass, so the two start searching all over the mansion while the others keep throwing him weird looks. As they look around, Kotaro gets distracted by her wings and decides to cop a feel, making her blush hard from ear to ear. Our princess shoots him a look like he just defiled her wings, leaving our boy completely confused about what's so wrong with it. His reaction makes Hime wonder why he's not scared of Tengus like normal people, considering they're usually revered as yokai and seen as messengers from heaven. Our shy protagonist, realizing this, suddenly acts terrified of her like he's been afraid the whole time. Changing the subject, they rush toward an open door where two villagers are gossiping about Hime being a rebellious girl, not only refusing to marry in but even bringing an outsider into their village. The two eavesdrop as the villagers complain that she should take her role as the future leader more seriously, shocking Kotaro when he realizes her actual status. Hime just sighs as they walk away, and Kotaro asks if she's really the heir to the chief. With a sad look in her eyes, our princess admits that both her father and grandfather were chiefs before they died, leaving her grandmother to take over. Ever since then, everyone's been super nice to her, so she treasures them even though they talk smack behind her back. Switching gears, Hime suddenly lights up and excitedly rants about how shorter skirts are cuter and how the Tengu mask ruins her hairdo, flashing the cutest smile that makes Kotaro blush. Our boy folds instantly, starts simping, and agrees that the mask totally hides her pretty eyes. Hime keeps going, sharing her obsession with gadgets from the outside and proudly admitting she collects all the smartphones that Insta girls drop while taking selfies. She casually mentions that her dream has always been to wear modern clothes, go shopping in a mall, and take photos with loved ones. Kotaro's eyes widen as she opens up about the reality that, as the chief, she can't enjoy things from the outside world, and having children is her duty for the sake of the village. But her sad expression says something else entirely. Quickly shaking it off, Hime apologizes for the sob story and leaves, saying she has a good idea who has Kotaro's compass, leaving him standing there lost in thought. As he mulls over the fact that she's getting married soon, our hero overhears villagers whispering about whether she plans to run away. But they quickly shut down the idea, saying there's no way she'd break the rules and has no choice but to endure it. Kotaro can't help but feel bad for our princess, who's stuck carrying the weight of the Tengu's future. The scene shifts to our lovebirds outside, where Hime tells Kotaro to hold on tight and not to look back. The two savor their final moment together, and Hime pulls out the compass he lost, saying the fox found it. Clutching it tightly, she surprises our hero with a deeply pained expression, clearly struggling with having to part ways once again. As she hands it over, she blesses it with a soft glow and tells him it's now a protective charm to make sure he never loses it again. Taking a deep breath, she wishes him well, masking the sadness in her heart with a pretty smile, leaving Kotaro speechless. Quickly turning around, Hime says it's time to go. But when Kotaro asks if she's not worried about punishment for breaking the rules, she reassures him that her grandmother has never hurt anyone and that the rules only exist to keep order. With a carefree smile, she promises there's nothing for him to worry about. But our hero's not buying it and says that while it's not his place to mansplain her situation, her whole problem could be solved if she just ditched the ancient tradition. Seeing her confusion, he bluntly asks why she doesn't just follow her heart, pick whoever she actually wants to be with, and marry someone she truly loves or just do whatever makes her happy. Our princess tells him to hold up and gives him a reality check, saying that without her, both her bloodline and the village's order would collapse. Kotaro looks up at the sky and tells her that's cool since it's her life, and she deserves to choose a path that makes her happy. Of course, that doesn't mean she has to abandon her family completely. He sums it up by saying she should try different things before truly settling down, making Hime blush at his unexpected bad boy energy. Kotaro goes on, saying that even if she gets banished to the Shadow Realm, she should at least experience life outside the village. Hime instantly frowns at the thought and calls it ridiculous. Kotaro argues that she can always come back since everyone clearly treasures her. Taken aback, our princess blushes while fangirling over the idea of the outside world she's only ever dreamed about. In her excitement, she asks if it's fine to wear immodest Western clothes and short skirts, which he proudly supports without hesitation. Blushing even harder, her eyes sparkle as she pictures strolling through the city and riding the train, and before she knows it, she's already floating midair in anticipation. Sneaking a glance at him, she asks if she can also take a photo with her special someone while holding his hand. Kotaro's eyes widen, and he promises to make that wish come true without a second thought. Out of nowhere, Hime gets all giddy about crashing at his place, completely baffling him. Ignoring his protests, our princess yanks him by the neck and happily flaps into the night. Without wasting a second, she zips through the mansion, casually announcing that she's heading off to married life in the city with our hero. As they fly, Hime can't contain her excitement, imagining how amazing their new life is gonna be. Flustered, Kotaro asks if she even heard him right, but his new wifey just grins and reminds him that he told her she could fall in love with whoever she wants. Seeing her cute smile, Kotaro takes the L and accepts the start of his non-consensual married life. When they arrive at his place, Kotaro finds himself breathless at the sheer joy on Hime's face, which suddenly reminds him that he's forgotten their promise. Without hesitation, he comes clean and asks her about it. After a short pause, she teases him, saying it's the one thing he'll have to remember on his own. Leaning in, she whispers that he better figure it out, then, out of nowhere, wraps her arms around him and asks her new hubby to treat her well. The scene shifts to Kotaro sleeping on a sofa, tossing and squirming until an alarm suddenly wakes him. He rises and notices his new Tengu bride asleep at the table, mumbling about wanting more rice in her dream. Looking at Hime, he recalls the trouble he has gotten himself into and holds his head. He moves away from the sofa, slowly approaching her while keeping his gaze fixed on her. As he touches and gently rubs her wings, memories from his past resurface, but the movement also stirs Hime awake. Hime blushes, visibly flustered, as she questions Kotaro about why he touched her wings while she was asleep. She quickly brushes her hair, trying to make herself look presentable, then bows before him, declaring that she would be in his care. With a smile on her face, Hime entrusts herself to Kotaro, asking him to introduce her to his family. Kotaro, clearly irritated, argues that he never agreed to let her live in the house in the first place. However, Hime counters by reminding him that he was the one who told her to stay outside, and since she knows no one else, she insists that she will be staying right here. Kotaro questions Hime about whether there is a community of Tengus nearby, but she replies that all the Tengus she knows live in the mountains. He then tells her to wait until nightfall, suggesting it would be better if no one saw her before she returned to the mountain. In response, Hime scatters her belongings and insists that she has already informed everyone, making it impossible for her to return empty-handed. Frustrated by her presence, Kotaro sighs and tells her to leave after a few days, but Hime behaves like an unwanted guest with the stubbornness of your Wi-Fi signal when you really need it. Hime shows Kotaro her belongings, including her favorite comb and a sack full of treasures. To Kotaro's surprise, she pulls out a large fox from a small jar, proudly claiming that it has the ability to store a lot of things. Curious about what he just witnessed, Kotaro asks if all the abilities she has been using are Tengu powers. Hime responds that, although it is more like a magical power, most Tengus are not nearly as skilled at it. Kotaro reaches for Hime's hand, holding it gently as he rubs it, and gets amazed that such ordinary hands could wield magic. This leaves Hime feeling uneasy, and she quickly starts complaining about his actions. Without wasting more time, she takes out the cleaning supplies and begins tidying the house, remarking that if they kept talking, it would be noon before they realized. Kotaro gets surprised and suggests she sit down instead, considering she is a noble lady and might not be familiar with such chores. However, Hime snaps at him, firmly stating that she knows how to clean since she has been mopping floors ever since she was a child. Noticing Hime's enthusiasm, Kotaro lets her handle the cleaning but suggests she use a vacuum cleaner instead of her broom. Hime, spotting the vacuum cleaner, grows anxious, wondering if it might be some sort of weapon. Kotaro calmly explains how it works, guiding her through its use. Still unsure if someone as inexperienced as herself can manage it, Hime hesitates before turning it on. The moment it starts, she lights up with excitement, clearly fascinated by the device. With the cleaning now in his bride's hands, Kotaro decides to focus on the laundry. However, when he turns around, he catches Hime heading into his library and quickly tells her that she can leave that room alone. Hime notices the large collection of books and asks Kotaro if they all belong to him. He responds that the books are quite old and originally belonged to his grandfather. Being curious, the princess steps into the library and glances at the scattered books, wondering if there might be one about the Tengus. As she browses, she picks up a book about yakai and, blushing, questions Kotaro if he has a liking for them. Kotaro firmly denies it, repeating that everything in the library belonged to his late grandfather. Hime then softly remarks that she would have loved to show her wings and powers to his grandfather if he were still alive. With a playful glimmer in her eyes, she adds that there is still one more secret she has yet to reveal to Kotaro. Kotaro, showing little interest, tells Hime that he is going to do the laundry and clean the library since he hasn't had the chance to tidy it up since moving in. Hearing that he only recently shifted there, the Tengu princess's expression softens with sadness, and she apologizes, admitting she didn't know. She then gently asks if he has a family, but to her surprise Kotaro reveals that he has no family and had to grow up in an orphanage. Hime's expression carries a quiet concern as she takes in the weight of Kotaro's words. A soft smile appears on her face as she wonders if he has always felt lonely. Without waiting for an answer, she removes her socks and firmly decides to take over the laundry. From that moment, she promises herself to clean his house, wash the clothes, and prepare meals, believing that tending to these chores might somehow ease the solitude he has endured. As she hurries to the laundry room, Kotaro follows, insisting that she does not need to handle the laundry. Noticing her unwavering determination, he questions whether she even knows how to do it. A brief exchange follows, but Kotaro, realizing the futility of arguing, eventually retreats to the room. He settles into his seat, silently hoping that Hime might decide to leave on her own. The next day, our newlyweds are chowing down when Kotaro hears a thunderous growl coming from Hime, whose face and hands are coated in Cheetos dust like a greasy gamer as she demolishes her fifth dumpling. She asks him to grab something, but our boy realizes she's already wiped out the entire fridge. Still all giddy, she points at a cup of ramen, which Kotaro swears isn't as good as it looks. But after she rambles on about how amazing it must be, she hits him with the puppy eyes and asks if she can have some. Kotaro folds instantly, though his inner dad awakens, telling her she shouldn't eat it too often. As he preps the ramen, he notices her gawking from behind like she's Gordon Ramsay, seconds before roasting him into oblivion. Seeing how curious she is, he tells her to knock herself out, and the two end up having a heartwarming cooking class together. Once it's done, teetering with anticipation, Hime peels the lid back to admire the fruits of her labor, only to find the noodles drier than the Sahara Desert. Kotaro bursts out laughing and decides to show our princess how a real man makes cup noodles. He pours hot water over the sad, dry noodles, making them swell up so much that Hime can't hold back her amazement. As they wait for them to cook, she watches like a kid seeing magic for the first time. When she finally peels the lid back again, her face lights up with one of her signature priceless smiles. Kotaro tells her to quit gawking, and the two sit down to enjoy the juicy nudes. The moment Hime takes her first slurp, her mind melts, and she devours them whole, shouting that they're absolutely mighty scrumptious. She starts yapping about what Walmart cup noodles must taste like, and the warmth of her smile flows through Kotaro, something most of you will never get to feel. Anyway, Kotaro laughs and tells her she can have another one since he already knows how gluttonous she is, which makes hungry Hime nearly die of embarrassment. After completely emptying the fridge, our princess confesses that she never imagined she'd ever get this kind of happiness leaving the mountain, trying alien food, and Kotaro, the lucky dog, letting her live with him. As she thanks him for letting her crash, our boy nearly erupts but pouts it off like it's no big deal. Hime wonders how everyone back home would feel if they knew about all the amazing things outside, but Kotaro catches her off guard with his little tsundere moment, saying there's a lot more he can cook if she gets what he means. This makes wifey's heart do a full backflip, and our boy finally folds, thinking maybe it's not so bad having her around, until the naughty gal snugly lays their futons side by side as preparation for maximum naughty fun time. The next morning, the two make their way to the kitchen to prepare breakfast, where Kotaro acknowledges Hime's efforts, praising her for doing so well on her first attempt. Hime prepares fried eggs with bread and red sauce for herself, her excitement building at the thought of tasting something new. As she takes her first bite, a wave of delight washes over her, and she can't help but share a few kind words about the meal. Hime's excitement revolves entirely around the idea of eating, her thoughts already drifting to the next meal. She wonders aloud about lunch, prompting Kotaro to assure her that he will get whatever she wants. Noting the pleasant weather, Kotaro mentions his plan to buy some meat for their meal. In response, Hime insists that she will take care of cleaning the house and hang the futons out to dry. Kotaro suggests Hime prepare her own room, only for her to look at him like he just said something illegal. She casually reminds him that they're obviously sharing a room. The night before, when Kotaro returned to his room to sleep, he grew uneasy at the sight of two futons placed side by side, an arrangement made by Hime, who casually asked which side he would prefer. The unexpected setup left Kotaro uncomfortable, prompting him to fold the futons and return them to the closet. He then guides her to another room and calmly states that she would be sleeping there. Hime, however, disagrees, arguing that the room was too far from his. Kotaro keeps the argument going, insisting that it is already enough for them to be living under the same roof. However, Hime counters, claiming that it is only natural for two married lovebirds to sleep in the same room. Despite her protests, Kotaro eventually manages to forcefully win the argument, leaving Hime with no choice but to sleep in a separate room. As the scene returns to the present, Kotaro, clearly exasperated, suggests that Hime should just go back to the mountain. In response, the Tengu bride fixes him with a sweet yet sharp death stare. Shifting the mood, she then asks for a bite of his bread, casually noting that the white sauce on it tastes quite different from the red sauce she had earlier. In return, she offers Kotaro a piece of her fried egg and bread, but he politely refuses. Suddenly, a voice echoes from outside, drawing Kotaro's attention. He steps out to find a postman standing there, who inquires if this is Tsukasaka's house. With a mouth still half full from his bite, Kotaro, a bit flustered, hastily takes the mail and signs the paper. The postman remarks that the house had been empty for a long time, making him wonder if he had the wrong address, and asks if Kotaro recently moved in. He mentions that his boss once told him the Tsukasaka family used to live there, which is why he came. Before leaving, he welcomes Kotaro back. As he steps away, the postman casts a lingering, suspicious glance at Kotaro's house, but says nothing more. Watching him go, Kotaro finds himself wondering if there are still people who remember his past, given how unexpected the encounter was. When he returns inside, he notices Hime peeking through the door. The sight unsettles him, as the postman's odd glance makes him worry whether he might have noticed her. Kotaro, caught up in his thoughts, grows increasingly anxious at the idea that if word ever got out about a Tengu living in his home, the news would spread like wildfire. He imagines people swarming the place, not just out of curiosity, but with the far more troubling possibility of subjecting the Tengu to some unpleasant experiments. All the while, Hime keeps pestering him, repeatedly asking what's on his mind, but Kotaro remains deep in thought, barely registering her questions. Eventually, he pushes the worry aside, convincing himself that even if the postman did catch a glimpse of her, he probably just assumed it was some over-the-top cosplay. Hime tries to get closer to Kotaro, but he quickly pushes her aside, silently vowing to keep her hidden from the outside world, making sure no one ever learns of her existence. Thinking fast, he tells her to stay in her bedroom, reasoning that as long as she's in there, no one from outside can spot her. Just then, without warning, an old woman appears at the door, unannounced, peering inside. Kotaro's heart skips a beat. He rushes over and slams the door shut, shielding Hime from view. The old lady, after confirming that Tsukasaka has indeed returned, lights up with joy, remarking on how much he's grown. She adds, almost casually, that her eyesight isn't what it used to be and everything looks a bit blurry. Hearing this, Kotaro finally feels a wave of relief, realizing there's no way she could have seen Hime. The old lady explains that she came in after hearing about his return from the mailman. She begins talking about his past, mentioning how much he loved watermelons and how, during New Year's celebrations, he would eat more matcha than even her grandchildren, which is why she still remembers him. She also adds that Kotaro's grandmother used to send her favorite sweet dish, ohagi, though Kotaro almost always ended up eating them instead of giving them to her. After reminiscing about the past, the old lady leaves, and Kotaro returns to his bride, reopening the door he had previously shut. Hime sits there gracefully, blushing as she mentions that she also likes ohagi and shyly asks if she could make some for them. But a sudden realization seems to hit her, as if she's adding to Kotaro's worries, and she quickly apologizes. Kotaro approaches her, gently patting her head before casually mentioning that he'll bring a heater for her room. Not long after, a stream of people starts showing up at the house, some checking the gas and electricity meters, others making deliveries or coming from sales businesses. The constant intrusions, combined with the struggle of keeping Hime hidden from everyone's sight, gradually pushes Kotaro's patience to its limit. On one hand, there's our wifey, Hime, holding a bunch of vegetables and smiling without a care in the world, and on the other hand is the anxious hubby, Kotaro, completely on edge. His mind spins with the fear that if this keeps up, the Tengu's secret might slip out, putting his wifey's life in danger. Out of nowhere, Hime's stomach growls, cutting through the tension. The worried hubby cracks a small smile, saying he'll order something for her. He grabs his tablet and starts browsing, but no matter which website he visits, everything's out of service. Blaming it on the rural area, he's just about to give up and head to the convenience store when his wifey stops him, excitedly pulling out a stack of cards and asking if he can order through them instead. Kotaro gives them a generous amount and feels at ease, recalling that these were the same places they used to order from when he was little, with the utensils needing to be returned afterward. Hime then asks him to order some curry udon, but Kotaro points out that she has already had it and suggests trying something else. However, the lady of the house insists, prompting her husband to place the order. As night settles, the outside door creaks open, and Kotaro quickly moves to hide Hime from being discovered. He pays the delivery guy in cash, as online credit isn't accepted, and the man curiously asks if Kotaro used to live there. The delivery guy mentions that he learned from his father about how they used to receive a lot of orders from this place, and a boy who lived here especially loved their matcha. As the guy leaves, Kotaro takes the curry and brings it to Hime. Hime, excited, compares the dish to the one on the menu, pointing out that they don't look the same. Kotaro briefly wonders if they received the wrong order, but the smell quickly tempts him to take a bite. The taste brings back memories of his past, reminding him of how much he used to love this dish. The two lovebirds finish the meal and feel full, but Hime still doesn't seem satisfied. She pulls out the menu, asking if they can order more, then insists that they're going to try all kinds of things together. Kotaro is stunned by seeing Hime devour her food like a vacuum and scoffs, asking if she was born with a smooth brain optimized only for inhaling food. Hime flares up at first, snapping that it's only because everything looks so freaking good, and immediately starts listing what she wants to eat next. The next morning, our hero wakes up to the sweet, loving whispers of his wife, making him shoot up in shock. Hime complains that he spent another night on the couch instead of having happy fun time on the futons. Anyway, she surprises him with an onigiri breakfast in bed, which looks like soggy rice clumped together. Stressing that she's added egg, meat, and some of her special sauce, our princess is absolutely ecstatic for him to try her packed rice balls. It quickly dawns on Kotaro that she doesn't know how to use the rice cooker, so our boy rushes to the kitchen and finds absolute chaos. Hime claims it was just her failed attempt at making miso soup, trying to slide it off with a teehee. Like every deadbeat dad, Kotaro scolds his wife and asks who's gonna clean up the mess. She replies that even though she's been sheltered in the village, our princess is devoted to being the best wife she can be, and that includes making breakfast. This instantly melts Kotaro, so he tells her not to worry about it despite Hime insisting that she should be independent. In reply, he tells her that life has become easier for worthless shut-ins with zero skill like him, since everything comes ready to be made now. Handing her the miso soup packets, our loner demonstrates the art of adding hot water to the mush, impressing our girl with a glorified bowl of instant soup. Hime is baffled by how authentic it smells, and Kotaro assures her that everything can be made effortlessly nowadays, though he does add that he'd love to start every day with her cooking. With that, Hime relishes the instant soup while Kotaro takes a big bite out of the chunky rice ball, finding it just as yummy as her. After enjoying a peaceful morning together, our hubby leaves to get some milk and tells his woman to clean the kitchen by the time he's back. Kotaro nags her that she better not leave the house without his permission and is sent off with love. On his way, he receives an invite to go drinking with the boys, but Kotaro realizes that he now has a family to take care of. Looking down at the groceries for two, even though he doesn't plan on marrying her anytime soon, our lonely protagonist wonders what he's doing with his life. Recalling his advice for her to do what makes her happy, Kotaro decides to have a serious conversation with Hime, but to his surprise, he spots her sitting outside. Looking closely, he's shocked to find that she's out chatting up an old lady. Kotaro enters grumpy husband mode, and while she shares that the nice lady brought over dangos, he scolds her for coming out even when he explicitly said not to. Kotaro pulls her aside like he's about to casually commit mild domestic violence, but Granny interrupts by asking if he left to find a wife after all, shocking Kotaro, while Hime acts all shy and innocent. The old lady is disappointed that she can't hook up her granddaughter with him, now that he's taken, and casually shifts the subject to nostalgic memories. But Kotaro is baffled and points out how Granny isn't the slightest bit bothered by Hime's wings. In reply, the old lady states that the new generation is into weird fashion like this, especially her cringy granddaughter. Kotaro is glad that they can let it slide as cosplay thanks to Granny's terrible eyesight. But just when he thinks they're out of the blue, a guy walks up looking absolutely stunned and points out that Hime's wings moved. The moment the guy pulls out his phone for a snap, Kotaro manhandles his wife and pushes her inside before quickly slamming the door shut. Hime feels awful while Kotaro asks the guy not to take pictures since they're in the middle of a professional shoot. She nervously chews her nails as the guy keeps prying about their video, but Kotaro pleads with him not to spread it around, only making our princess more embarrassed. After that, Kotaro goes off on her for ignoring what he said. In response, Hime innocently explains that Granny kept calling for him, waiting patiently to hand him dangos, so our princess shrugs it off, saying she doesn't mind being seen since she's already used to meeting humans in the mountains. Kotaro turns serious, making it clear that this isn't the mountains anymore, warning that if someone takes a picture of her in the city, even he can't predict the consequences, which might force her to return to the village. Hime quickly apologizes, but he cuts her off, insisting that it's better if she just goes back. Terrified, Hime buries her face in his chest and starts sobbing, desperate to stay with her hubby, making Kotaro waver for a split second. But he swallows the weakness and stuns her by pointing out how messy she is, how she never listens, and knowing that he could lose his job any time. He can't afford to carry dead weight. Our boy looks away to hide his feelings as he tells her to go back to her village, completely shattering her world. She slowly pulls away and apologizes, leaving them in an unbearable silence. Night falls, and Kotaro checks the dinner he left outside her room, still untouched. He wonders if she's okay after skipping food since noon and hopes she hasn't passed out from sheer stubbornness. Figuring she's locked herself away to avoid humans, he can't shake off the guilt as her sad face lingers in his mind. Right then, Hime explodes out of her room, nearly scaring his soul out, and declares that she's leaving tomorrow if he grants her one last wish. Kotaro's eyes almost pop out when she asks if he'd sleep with her for just one night. He agrees, but their futons stay miles apart, like a couple fresh off an argument. As he lies in bed, her request keeps replaying in his mind that just having him in the same room is enough. The silence turns awkward, and Kotaro glances over to check on her when Hime suddenly breaks it by asking if he's awake. Though he stays quiet, she apologizes for not realizing how much of a mess she's been and jokes about being pretty selfish at times. Her voice cracks up as she admits that even if her feelings are one-sided, she had the time of her life with him. Every second spent outside felt magical, not just because the mountain was plain in comparison, but because she got to be with him. After thanking him one last time, our princess tells him to eat well, take care, and wishes him good night. Our boy turns one last time to look at her before pulling the covers over himself, pushing down the aching pain in his chest. He thinks about how much his lonely life changed, waking up to his pretty wife, sharing meals, and seeing her precious smile before bed. Kotaro tries to suppress it, but the memories of her keep flooding in until she becomes the last thing on his mind before sleep takes over. The next morning, Hime wakes up to see that he's missing and follows an appetizing aroma coming from the kitchen. There, our boy is preparing rice balls and asks her to freshen up since breakfast is nearly ready. But Hime curiously asks why a worthless greasy shut-in like him knows how to cook. Kotaro replies that after living alone for so long, he's picked up a thing or two, but cooking just for himself got boring. Placing his perfectly made rice balls on the table, our tsundere protagonist casually mentions that he made too much and tells her to dig in. Seeing Hime's priceless smile as she enjoys the miso soup, his heart practically turns to mush. Watching her happily munch on his rice balls, our boy feels a pang of guilt, remembering she hadn't eaten since yesterday. He finally apologizes for being an ungrateful incel and yelling at her, and Hime tries to comfort him. But Kotaro stands his ground, admitting that while it'd be safer for her not to stay with him, he is technically responsible for bringing her here. Our princess reassures him that it's not his fault, saying she chose to live with him on her own, but Kotaro isn't satisfied. He confesses that he also needs to apologize for lying about her being a burden since, honestly, being with her isn't that bad. Both of them blush as he admits he's actually been enjoying it a lot, surprised by how nice it is to live with someone. That's why he's willing to let her stay as long as she wants. Unable to fully express his feelings, our boy asks her to take her time, promising to help her out however she wants and even offering to be her personal home chef. He adds that he'll find a way for her to go outside freely, then, with a serious look, calls out to her and asks her to stay with him as long as she wishes. Kotaro admits that he's hurt her before, but if she still wants to stay with him and doesn't mind his rundown house, his doors will always be open. The moment he says it, Hime's tears come flooding out like a broken dam, leaving Kotaro staring in shock. She asks again if he's really sure that someone like her can stay, so he reassures her and calls himself a brain-dead baka forever saying otherwise. Hime acknowledges her selfishness but confesses that she's loved his house from the start. Then, with a proud grin, she loudly declares that she wants to live with him. Our boy finally folds, handing her some tissues and telling her to just wait until he figures out a way for her to go outside freely. Out of nowhere, our princess suddenly asks if there are any rice balls left, nearly breaking down when he teases her about loving food a little too much. As she happily munches, Kotaro, in peak idiot mode, casually says she can move out once she finds a guy she likes. Hime immediately gets fired up, reminding him that he was the one who asked her out first. Watching him remain completely clueless about his own words, she flashes a smug grin and starts giggling, making it clear she's still waiting for him to say the magic words, much to Kotaro's utter confusion. As the scene shifts, Kotaro is seen selecting presentable clothes from his wardrobe. He picks a collared shirt and pairs it with a hoodie jacket. Hime, still clutching a pizza menu like it holds the meaning of life, curiously wonders where her hubby is headed. To her surprise, he mentions his plan to visit her home, reminding her that she once said he could drop by anytime. With that in mind, he decides it's only right to pay them a visit and let them know that Hime is safe. Hearing this, the Tengu princess blushes, imagining Kotaro bowing before the Tengus to ask for their daughter, letting her mind wander through a series of dramatic scenarios. Kotaro gently pats her head, urging her to calm down, explaining that he only intends to let them know he will be taking care of their princess. To him, not visiting and greeting them would seem rude. He goes on to mention the possibility of getting beaten up for taking her away. But despite that, he wants to earn their trust so Hime can live freely in the outside world. Touched by his words, Hime's heart softens as she clings to Kotaro, calling him caring and expressing her gratitude. As midnight falls, Hime carries Kotaro to the mount and gently sets him down. Kotaro begins to shiver from the cold, prompting his wife to remark on how fragile he seems, despite wearing a thick jacket. Hime then hugs him tightly, trying to warm him up. Kotaro takes her hand, noticing how cold it is, and wonders why she is dressed so lightly in such freezing weather. In response, Hime playfully turns away and walks like a child, insisting that her outfit feels normal to her and that her kimono insulates heat quite well. She then takes Kotaro's hand and leads him toward the village. As the two lovebirds arrive in the village, they are warmly welcomed with a feast, surrounded by villagers congratulating them on their marriage. One man, visibly excited, comments that Hime has found herself a decent man. Hime formally introduces her husband, explaining that she has been living in his house and that he has come to greet them. Kotaro bows respectfully as if he found a spare change on the floor, offering a sincere apology for leaving so suddenly without notice and causing the villagers to worry. He expresses his intention to help Hime adjust to life in the outside world, promising to take responsibility for her for as long as she chooses to stay in his home. Kotaro further assures them that he will make sure no harm comes to the village or to Hime. As he seeks their permission, a loud Tengu voice echoes from behind the door, angrily declaring that it would be outrageous to hand over their heir to a mere human, even more so without a proper marriage ceremony, calling the whole situation utterly immoral. The obnoxiously loud man introduces himself as one of the Tengu kins, Aragoyama Ikirata, blah blah. Kotaro and Hime are too stunned to react, but the others start fanboying hard and roast our boy for being an ignorant peasant who doesn't recognize Ikirata's greatness. Kotaro quietly wonders if the guy is actually strong, which gets confirmed before he's left completely dumbfounded by how this nerd somehow knows more about his own family than he does. Also, it turns out he's a prince. Meanwhile, Hime's disgust is loud and clear, and the guy just laughs it off, saying she's as foul-mouthed as ever. When she questions why he even showed up, the prince casually explains that he was worried about her and wanted to see the human she ditched him for instead of choosing a Chad like himself. Kotaro's confusion is clear, so Ikirata proudly introduces himself as the ex-fiancé of their princess. Kotaro finds it hard to believe, But a quick glance at Hime's distressed face confirms his suspicion. The prince tries to flex it, but our boy isn't all that shocked, considering she's the eldest and, let's be real, the cutest in the family. Curious, Kotaro asks what happened to their engagement, and Ikirauta spills that the whole thing was forced by the old geezers for political reasons. Honestly, he couldn't care less about marriage. He quickly clarifies that it's not about not being straight, but there's no way he'd ever marry someone like Hime. He points out how ridiculous it is that she actually believes in the whole meet under the divine tree 3 times and you're destined to marry thing. Dropping the bombshell, he reveals that not a single person has ever actually followed that so-called rule. Hime, ever the goody two-shoes, protests that Grandma said the rule was absolute, but the prince just scoffs, reminding her that they used to play around the tree every single day. Then, he challenges her to explain their current relationship. Stumbling over her words, she weakly insists that they were just kids, but he fires back, asking if there's some conveniently placed exception just for that. As the rest of the Tengus gather, the prince doesn't hold back, straight up calling her out for using a made-up tradition as an excuse to bag the guy she wants. Without mercy, he labels her a ridiculous idiot right in front of Kotaro. But he's not done, and then accuses her of just being a bored broad taking advantage of a loophole to run off with a pathetic human, who looks like he's never lifted anything heavier than a pencil in his life. Then, as if that wasn't enough, he takes it a step further by guessing that she's a gold digger stringing Kotaro along just to get a taste of life outside. Just as the insult hangs in the air, Kotaro finally steps up to say something. But before he can, a trembling voice breaks through from behind him. Hime barely manages to get the words out that she would never dare do something so disgraceful. Tears stream down her puffy cheeks as she insists Ikirauta has it all wrong, leaving Kotaro stunned when she reveals she never actually wanted to leave the village. Our boy backs her up, pointing out that everything started because she helped him escape and ended up taking his punishment instead. Kotaro takes full responsibility, admitting he was the one who invited her to escape, catching Hime off guard. He makes it clear that our princess truly cherishes everyone in the village, just like he does. That's exactly why he refuses to believe she'd ever chase a selfish desire at the cost of her family. Scoffing at the emotional story, the prince points out that no one's been punished in years and calls Kotaro an idiot for putting his faith in such a naive woman. Hime snaps that she's had enough, but Kotaro stays completely unfazed, silently holding the compass she blessed. After glancing at all the villagers enjoying popcorn watching the showdown over who's got more riz, Kotaro states that nothing matters as long as you believe in someone. He doesn't care if it's just superstition, insisting that everyone has the freedom to believe what they think is right, so there's no need for others to constantly challenge it. Prince fires back if Kotaro is fine being a sad loser passed around by women, a crime which Hime staunchly denies, so Kotaro clears one more thing up, saying he's perfectly fine being used by Hime if it means making her dreams a reality. With that, our protagonist turns to the villagers and reveals that clearing this up was his entire reason for coming here today. With a humble bow, Kotaro formally asks for permission to take Hime outside, promising to do his best to protect both her and the village's existence. With somber eyes, he vows to never let her cry again. Every Tengu, even the prince and Hime, is stunned by the sheer weight of his words, and Hime immediately throws herself into his arms, swearing she never once saw him as just a tool. Hime admits she is naive, and as she bursts into tears, she just wants to stay by his side. Our princess insists that as long as they're together, she doesn't care where they end up. Feeling bad, Kotaro hands her his shirt to wipe her tears, but she grabs it and straight up blows her nose into it, making even the unfazed prince look away in repulsion. Ikirauta signals his lackeys that it's time to leave, grumbling that Tokyo is way better than this dull, backwater village. With that, the buff Tengu and his gang take off, leaving Kotaro wondering why they're flying away so dramatically with such a bad attitude. One of the Tengu quietly tells him that the prince is just triggered because a sad loser like Kotaro stole his girl. Either way, Hime apologizes to our hero for making him defend her like that, and thanks him for promising to protect her. She then goes off, ranting about how Ikirauta has been a stuck-up little butthead since they were kids, which is exactly why she never wanted to marry him. Tearing up, she emphasizes that this isn't why she chose him and promises that her feelings for him are real. Kotaro smiles, giving her cute little head a pat, when suddenly the entire village appears like they were shamelessly eavesdropping. One by one, they remove their masks in front of our boy, as if to show they no longer distrust him. What shocks our couple the most, though, is Granny, who bows down along with everyone else, asking Kotaro to cherish Hime for them. Unable to believe their eyes, Kotaro and Hime lock gazes before she jumps him again, completely overwhelmed with happiness. Later that night, the village gathers at the station to see them off. After saying her goodbyes to Hime, Granny tells her to take care and reminds Kotaro not to forget to visit every now and then. Kotaro nods, gripping his lucky charm tightly. With that, Hime excitedly approaches with her massive luggage and indulges in some bold, shameless hand-holding. Her precious smile completely enchants him, and as she pulls him along, singing, Kotaro finds himself speechless at the pure bundle of joy she is. Grinning to himself, he can't help but feel like the luckiest dog alive. Kotaro feels relieved that everyone gave them their blessing, while Hime admits she never imagined Granny would bow to him and thanks Kotaro for being the best, though he seems lost in thought. Out of nowhere, he asks if they've really met under the divine tree 3 times, admitting he doesn't recall the third instance. He lists the first 2 once when he got lost during a trip and then when he injured himself. Noticing Hime's slight disappointment, it suddenly clicks that the third time might be the moment she always tells him to remember, making him wonder what exactly he said back then. With a somber expression, Hime quietly remarks that he should have let her know instead of keeping it in, as memories of a weeping little Kotaro flash through her mind, crying about something Grandma did to him. Pushing that thought aside, she smiles, leaving Kotaro wondering what she's daydreaming about. Our princess suddenly turns to him, making him question if she's about to lose it. But instead, she surprises him by gently patting his head with a warm expression, telling him it'd be best if he just forgot the bad memories. She completely stuns him by adding that she won't be selfish enough to ask him to recall that time again, saying it wouldn't be fair of her. Trying to shake off the heavy mood, she attempts to move on, but Kotaro grips her hand tightly, stopping her in her tracks. He insists that he wants to remember because he knows how much it means to her to hear what he said back then. Holding her small hand firmly, he promises that he'll recall that moment and asks wifey to hang in there a little longer. Overcome with happiness, Hime throws her arms around him, her cheeks turning as red as a traffic light. Meanwhile, the prince's lackeys watch from a distance, questioning if he's really okay with a human openly disrespecting them in front of the entire village and suggesting they serve up some punishment. But Ikiroda tells them to chill out, saying that Kotaro would have been an easy target if he was just a desperate dimwit trying to get some. To their surprise, the prince mutters that messing with a genuine guy who has no hidden agenda just doesn't feel right and orders his morons to pick up the pace. As the scene shifts, the lovebirds have returned home, and it is already morning. Hime mops the floor, moving like a tornado in a kimono, the sound of which wakes up Kotaro, who sleepily asks what she's doing. She moves on to washing some dishes, casually explaining that she thought the house should be well ventilated in winter, so she decided to clean it. Kotaro tells her there's no need for all that, arguing that he hasn't caught a cold in years, but the moment he says that, his nose betrays him with a loud sneeze. As Hime complains, she suddenly sneezes too, joking that she never knew sneezes could be contagious. As Hime reaches for the last dish, a knock at the door draws Kotaro away. When he returns, a smirk plays across his face as he places 2 cleaning robots on the floor. Hime's curiosity sparks at the sight, her mind racing to the most unexpected conclusion. She wonders if they might be some sort of weapon. The moment Kotaro activates one, the robot whirs to life, and Hime, startled, leaps onto him, insisting with alarm that the thing moved on its own. Kotaro, amused, reassures her that it's just a cleaning robot designed to sweep the floor for them. Still wary, the Tengu bride cautiously approaches the machine, giving it a hesitant poke before asking what it eats, making it clear that all this lady thinks of is food. Kotaro, hoping to explain, tells Hime she can think of electricity as the robot's food. The idea doesn't quite land, and still treating it like a living creature, she moves closer, gazing at it with curiosity. Her thoughts drift as she asks the robot if it has ever seen a Tengu before. Kotaro, amused, adds that she can think of it as a baby one yet to see the world. At that, the lady of the house lights up, thrilled at the thought of becoming the young robot's senpai, fully ready to guide it through its new life. A soft smile tugs at Kotaro's lips as he hadn't expected such a reaction. With a quiet chuckle, he starts setting up the robot. Meanwhile, Hime, ever observant, wonders aloud if Kotaro has a soft spot for machines, pointing out that whenever one gets delivered, he eagerly opens the package right away, but if it's a letter, he doesn't even bother to glance at it. Caught off guard, Kotaro fumbles for a response, settling on the idea that she can think of it that way, though he's quick to clarify that he only likes machines when they serve a purpose. Hearing Kotaro's response, Hime assumes that all machines must look the same to humans. Without much thought, she decides to name the cleaning robots Cleany and Sweepy. With a thoughtful tilt of her head, she then wonders aloud what she's supposed to do now. The laundry is done, the dishes are clean, and with Cleany and Sweepy around, even the floors no longer need her attention. Kotaro hands her a tablet, suggesting she use it to buy whatever clothes she likes. Puzzled, Hime stares at the device, questioning how it's supposed to bring her the clothes. Amused by her confusion, Kotaro explains that she can use it to order them. He goes on to add that since she can't go out to shop for clothes herself, this is how she can still get what she wants without leaving the house. Hearing all this, Hime sinks into a quiet gloom, seeing herself as a burden on Kotaro. She laments that she doesn't have a single penny to her name, and, after some hesitation, finally confesses that what has really been troubling her is the cost of food. Kotaro, catching her off guard, bursts into laughter, assuring her there's no need to worry about that. Shifting the mood, he starts guiding her on how to use the tablet. But before diving into the details, he pauses, asking if she can truly wear human clothes, wondering if she can shrink her wings using her divine power. Without hesitation, Hime reduces the size of her wings, explaining that while some Tengu can make theirs vanish entirely, she cannot. Still, she proudly shows how she has adjusted her clothing to accommodate them. With a quiet determination, Hime convinces Kotaro that even if she gets human clothes, she can wear them comfortably, having already practiced ways to make them work for her. A soft smile crosses Kotaro's face as he declares that today is her day, introducing her to the shopping app. He patiently explains the wide range of options, sizes, colors, and styles, only for Hime's confusion to grow. Noticing her puzzled expression, Kotaro gently asks what kind of clothes she actually likes. Kotaro then explains the options she has, and Hime, admiring his shoes, mentions that she wants a pair like his. She adds that she would love to get a long-sleeved top and pants similar to what Kotaro is wearing. Realizing what she wants, Kotaro opens a page where she can find all of it and shows it to her. Handing her the tablet, he returns to his computer, leaving the shopping to her. Hime scrolls through the page, picking out various outfits she thinks would look good alongside her hubby. Eventually, she drifts off to sleep while browsing. Kotaro notices her asleep, gently covers her with a blanket, and switches off the tablet. The scene shifts to a cafe, where Kotaro is telling his friend Satoshi how he met Hime. Both of them stare at him in dumbfounded silence as he awkwardly asks for a little help. Meanwhile, Hime is at home unboxing her freshly delivered clothes. After snipping off an annoying loose thread, she proudly presents them to Kotaro. Dressed in her newly bought Western outfit with sneakers, our princess bursts into fangirl mode over how cute and comfy everything is, while Kotaro is just shocked the bird brain actually managed to pick the right size. While Hime daydreams about how easily she could outrun everyone in the village with her Yeezys, but Kotaro is far more impressed by her perfectly hand-sewn wing holes. Dressed like everyone else in trendy clothes, Hime eagerly asks if she can finally go outside in her new outfit. Kotaro almost believes she looks just like a normal girl until they both remember the massive wings sticking out of her back. To fix the issue, Kotaro hands her a little gift, calling it a surprise. Turns out, it's a backpack, which immediately intrigues our princess. Kotaro then explains that he customized it with cutouts so her wings can fit snugly inside. Hime's eyes sparkle as she hesitantly wonders if it really means what she thinks it does. The moment Kotaro confirms it, she's completely unable to contain her excitement. Wasting no time, our princess tucks her little wings inside, instantly looking like a back-to-school ad model. As she admires herself in the mirror, curiosity gets the best of her, and she asks where Kotaro even found something like this. He proudly boasts that he made it himself, though he admits things got a little bloody since he's as terrible at sewing as he is at making good life choices. Hime is stunned when she notices his bandaged-up fingers and questions why he went this far just so she could go outside. Kotaro explains that this is his way of making up for keeping her locked in the whole time, knowing how much she's always wanted to explore the outside world. Meeting his wifey's gaze, he sincerely apologizes for saying no just to keep her safe, wishing she could fly around freely. Hime reassures him that it's all good, and the effort he puts in means everything to her, putting a warm smile on his face. After the heartfelt moment, Kotaro casually mentions that he'd like her to meet his friends. But he immediately regrets taking her outside, when Hime completely loses it, screaming her excitement about the big city for the whole world to hear. Our boy desperately tries to quiet her down as she keeps yelling about how awesome everything is. Just as she excitedly asks what's on the agenda, Kotaro's friends swoop in, casually greeting them. As they start chatting, Kotaro begins introducing Hime, only for her to disappear behind his shoulder. While Satoshi is unable to hold in the fact that Kotaro snagged a beauty, Marisa smacks him in the gut before introducing herself. Peeking out shyly like she's in a Counter-Strike 1 vs 1, Hime gets jealous seeing how Marisa is drop-dead gorgeous like a real-life princess. But the nice lady just thanks her and casually fires back that Hime's the actual princess here, leaving her completely stunned at having her secret exposed out of nowhere. Kotaro quietly reassures Hime that he already told them about her, so she doesn't have to worry and can just focus on getting to know them. Marisa then smoothly takes her hands and invites her on a shopping trip, and the girls have a blast window shopping. Although our princess is dying to go inside the stores, Marisa casually reveals they have something way more important on the agenda for today. Leaving the guys behind, she drags Hime straight into a lingerie store, completely rendering our girl speechless. Hime hesitantly admits that she hasn't even told Kotaro about wanting to buy cute underwear and demands to know how Marisa figured it out. At first, Marisa teases her that it's a secret, but Hime's intense stare forces her to confess. She explains that she's been obsessed with shopping for cute undies ever since she was a little girl and just assumed Tengus wouldn't be any different. The mysterious lady then tells her not to stress about sizing and to grab whatever she wants since Kotaro's basically rolling in cash. The two keep browsing through the various selections. While outside, Kotaro's friend finally admits he originally thought Kotaro was just tripping and that his so-called girlfriend was straight up imaginary. Kotaro immediately fires back, saying he doesn't need anyone's validation. Satoshi then shares that the real shocker wasn't even that Hime's a Tengu, it was the fact that the lonely loser he once knew actually chose to live with her. That alone reassures him about Kotaro's previously doomed future. Kotaro, now curious, asks why Satoshi was so worried in the first place. Bro simply replies that Hime is such a precious girl that just being around her is enough to brighten anyone's day. Turning to Kotaro, he then asks how long our boy plans on fake dating her since, despite keeping her happy, they aren't even a real couple. The question hits hard, leaving Kotaro dead silent. Satoshi presses on, pointing out that once she finds someone cooler, she's bound to leave him, forcing Kotaro to suddenly realize that the smiling angel he's looking at might not always be there. While he appears chill on the outside, an internal midlife crisis kicks in. Just then, the girls finally exit the store, and Marisa slips Hime some solid advice on their way back to the guys. Impressed by her senpai, our princess unleashes a devastating level of cuteness, asking if they can go shopping again. Completely overwhelmed, Marisa shyly asks Kotaro if she can just take the adorable birdie home with her. After the two besties share a hug, the team enjoys lunch together before waving each other goodbye. As Kotaro considers taking the bus, he notices Hime practically vibrating with excitement and asks if she had fun. Looking more pumped than a shaken soda can, she proudly brags about the cute onesie Marisa got her. Once the hype settles, a bit of worry creeps in as she wonders if Marisa would want to be friends with her. Kotaro assures her there's nothing to stress over, they're already friends. Heck, if she wants, she could even be friends with Satoshi. With that settled, the two take a walk outside, where Hime is absolutely mesmerized by the shimmering city lights of different colors. Watching her enjoy the moment, Kotaro decides to take a breather and reflects on how much Hakioji has changed. Our boy recalls how the station used to be just a tiny supermarket, and now it's a full-blown mall. While he's busy being an old man, Hime is way more interested in the bustling crowd around them. She watches how everyone seems to be having a blast, just like her dreams about the city. Suddenly, she thanks Kotaro for making her dream a reality by going shopping, eating out, and even making friends. With a gleeful smile, she proudly claims that she's finally just a normal girl and doesn't look like a Tengu anymore. At a loss for words, Kotaro scrambles to clear up that, while she blends in with the crowd, his goal was never to turn her into some basic bimbo. He just wanted her to go outside freely while being herself anytime. It genuinely pains him to hear her talk like being a Tengu is a bad thing, and tells her she should be proud of who she is, because she's the cutest girl he knows, human or otherwise. Hime is blown away by his words and her heart skips a beat. Overwhelmed, she grabs his bandaged up hand and starts running it through her hair, absolutely shocking our virgin protagonist into a full system crash. Then, Hime drops a confession of her own, saying that while she deeply treasures her family back at the village, out of everyone, the one she loves and adores the most is Kotaro. She asks him to stop hurting himself for her sake, leaving Kotaro absolutely speechless. Deciding to mess with him a little, she leans in close to his ear and lands a big smooch on our boy, leaving him frozen. Smiling like an idiot, Kotaro barely processes what just happened as wifey casually drops the 3 magic words on him. The two spend the rest of the night just vibing together, sitting by the fountain in each other's company. That night, Kotaro had a dream from his childhood, one where his compass was broken beyond repair, spinning endlessly no matter how much he tried to stop it. The last thing he mutters in the dream is Grandma Tengu's name before suddenly jolting awake in the middle of the night. Sitting alone on the couch, his mind replays Satoshi's question about how long he plans on keeping up this non-serious relationship with Hime. Will Kotaro remember his promise, and how will his lost memories affect the ending of this story? Comment Hime best girl if you're hyped for a part 2. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button for more content like this. Thanks for watching, stay legendary, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.